2, 3, and...
You may have caught the Folksmen performing on the Letterman show this past week and wondered.
Whenever I'm out a-wandering, chasing a rainbow dream.
They seem familiar-ish. If you're a certain age, you rack your brain. Do I remember that song?
Where friendly folks can gather and raise the rafters high.
Or could it be there's a folk music revival on the way?
Till they say goodbye.
It ain't gonna happen.
Well, there's a puppy in the parlor and a...
Well, never you fear. Although they really are singing and playing. The Folksmen are a fictional folk group in a movie called The Mighty Wind, which opens this week. Harry Shearer, Michael McKean, and Christopher Guest. The same three guys who took to the stage 20 years ago as the hapless but hardworking rock group in Rob Reiner's This Is Spinal Tap.
It's such a fine line between stupid and clever. Yeah,
It's just a little turnabout.
Same guys, different hair, or no hair in the case of the Folksmen. I shaved my head for the film.
Christopher Guest is the writer-director of A Mighty Wind.
I played folk music when I was younger. A lot of people did of my generation. And at the time, it wasn't looked at as anything bizarre.
There's a kiss at the end.
Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara play Mitch and Mickey, the folk duo that won America's heart and then broke it when they broke up, and Mitch broke down.
I don't remember much.
Do we know what's supposed to have happened to Mitch? He's obviously been through a lot.
Well, we know some of it because his one album is him in a straitjacket, and one album is where the cover of the album shows him digging his own grave. We know it's not a good place.
Welcome to California!
Moviegoers will recognize many of the Mighty Wind cast members from previous Christopher Guest films.
Everybody dance!
Waiting for Guffman, about a small but passionately dedicated community theater company in Blaine, Missouri. And Best in Show, which tickled the National Funny Bone with its portrait of the dog show world.
I'm interested in behavior, people, characters, and the backdrop is, in this case, folk music.
Finally, in the news tonight, the music world mourns the death of folk music icon Irving Steinblum.
A Mighty Wind, like Guest's other films, is made documentary style. Some have called them mockumentaries, but Guest doesn't. He sees them as comic studies of impassioned, one might even say obsessed people.
Acoustics are just perfect.
The joke is not that they can't play, the joke is that they take themselves very seriously, I think. Very seriously.
And he's very serious about it.
That it sounds like you're thinking that the image that we had was a retro image of something that wasn't retro because we weren't retro because we were them.
Right, it wasn't retro then. To do then now would be retro. To do then was very nowtro.
It takes us about 5 or 6 months to write the backgrounds of all the characters. And then I get the actors together, I talk with them about the various characters, what their history is, their dynamics, and we shoot.
It was a decent label, they just didn't have the distribution.
Well, they just didn't have, they didn't have any distribution.
No distribution at all.
Amazingly, the actors have no lines to learn. All the dialogue is improvised.
And they had no hole in the center of the record, so a lot of
you'd have to provide it yourself.
people complain that you'd get this vinyl, of course, in those days, and it's kind of up to you to kind of center it and make the actual...
You would teeter crazily on the little spindle until
the hole.
What makes this all work is trust. Christopher trusts us to know the characters well enough to come into these scenes and be these characters.
But they were still good records. They were good. It was good product.
And if you punched a hole in them, you'd have a good time.
Yeah.
I've been a musician for a long time. It's like sitting with a group of musicians that you know what key you're playing in, and you play, you jam, and it's word jamming, basically.
I'd like to dip you in cheese and spread.
Eugene Levy, currently bringing down the house in the hit movie Bringing Down the House, co-writes what there is that is written.
To me, it's really great character work, you know? That's the heart of these movies, you know, improvising, working without a net.
What's that? Those are lights hanging up there?
Yes, those are lights.
Could they fall?
And that's a ceiling above us.
But they look shaky.
No, they're not shaky. They're
It's
perfect.
like that wire. I see a wire. I see it. Ow!
My mama was the cold north wind.
And all the songs are original, written by various cast members. like Michael McKean and Harry Shearer.
Wanderin' is another great folksman song about basically a guy who he's never done no wandering.
Never heard the whistle of a southbound freight or the humming of its driving wheel. No,
He's never seen the sunrise. He's never taken a freight train. He's never done anything. That's what the song's about. A guy who's never experienced one thing in his life.
These are really good and close friends. These are Michael McKean and I have been writing songs for almost 40 years together. Everyone gets paid the same amount of money. So it's more a family even than a stock company, I hope.
In fact, the whole crew delights in blurring the line between fact and fiction, and many give up roles in more lucrative Hollywood movies in order to do it.
I'm the cabin boy, call me Jim. His name's Jim.
You gotta be so grounded. It was hard not to laugh because it was just so insane. These people were just so crazy.
Parker Posey learned to play the mandolin for her part as Sissy Knox, one of the overly cheery young members of the new Main Street Singers.
The new Main Street Singers, they're a neuf-tet?
It's a neuf-tet, which is 9.
One more than an octet.
One more than an octet and one less than a 10-tet.
That produces a certain sound that's
unusual?
Yes.
Quite amazing and annoying at the same time, because there's just too many people.
I think there's more guitar players playing all at once than you usually find.
Yeah, that was in the 60s, there were a lot of groups like that, where you thought, you know, once you get to 14 guitars, someone has to go home. 11 people have to go home, basically.
As for the politics of protest that was so much a part of 60s folk music, you won't find much of that.
I'm not sure if that's funny inherently, because it was such a passionate thing to write protest songs. It was a serious thing. That's a whole other movie.
Yes, some mighty winds are blowing across the land and across the sea.
Do you think that there are occasionally going to be people who will come in to see this and just not get it? I mean,
aside from my mother? I don't know. I don't know. I hope not.
Yes, it's flowing peace and freedom. It's flowing.